Excited about this one. Andre Ward is a boxing Hall of Famer. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He is former unified world champion. He retired 2017, undefeated. And now with Matt Barnes, our friend Steven Jackson, All the Smoke, he's the chief content officer of their combat sports vertical. That's doing a lot of great work. You can follow it on YouTube at ATS Fight and on the DraftKings Network. Steven Jackson has a show, Morning Combat, does tapings out of the Meadowlark studio in New York. They're on the ground at fights. There's a lot more coming, including Dre's show, The Art of War. The Art of Ward, excuse me, not The Art of War. It debuted this week. Andre Ward with us here. Let's get started. Good talking to you, Andre. Thank you for making the time, sir. I appreciate that at this point in your life, you are now an executive and a content person, and you have found out what to do in retirement that doesn't batter your body. Thank you for making the time for us, sir.
No, brother, it's good to be on with you. It's very, very good to not be in those wars and taking that punishment. But I kind of miss dishing it out, though. I got to be honest with you.
You miss it?
I miss dishing out the punishment, not taking it.
What don't you miss about boxing?
You know what, man? It's and I've said this, several times. Post-retirement is one of the reasons you retire is to get your freedom back, and very dedicated person. How I do some things is how I do all things. I'm very, very locked in. I understood the dangers of the sport. I understood the dedication that needed to be there. So whether I'm on vacation or whether I'm having time with my family, I got the sport on my mind. I don't miss those times. I don't miss those periods where my brain is always kind of split to think about my weight or the next fight or the next negotiation. So having that freedom and being a civilian, if for lack of a better phrase, and just being able to be a normal person and working out when I want to, not beating myself up if I don't want to work out, and just being a normal person and taking on other tasks like we're talking about today with this all the smoke stuff. That's a very, very freeing feeling.
Oh, but Andre, you are underselling the obsessive compulsive thing that you had to do to be great at that when you can have it taken away from you on a punch, and every young, hungry person in your sport wants what you have. Explain to the uninitiated what it took to be you, because I don't think anybody understands how hard it was to make it look as easy as you made it look.
I mean, when somebody's great at what they do, they make it look easy, but to your point, it's anything but. It's a lot of tinkering, a lot of toiling, a lot of rough days. It's a lot of questioning yourself. It's a lot of finding yourself again, and obviously a lot of physical hard work. But I'm a mental guy. I'm very, very in tune with the mind, and I feel like that's so important when you talk about just life, but then also sports. And so I was always not just doing physical reps, but the mental reps. And then after you've done all that prep work, all the hard work, now you have to go execute. So that's the tricky part about this thing, man. But I loved it. But you just get to a point where you don't love it like you used to. And when you start to get to that point where the R word, retirement, starts to get in your mind, and you start saying it, and it starts to, you just start to hear it in your conversation, it's probably beginning to be time to start making that decision. But the beautiful thing is this, that obsession, that being locked in, that focus, now I can put that toward other things. And that's the missing piece a lot of times for athletes and even entertainers or anybody who's done something for an extended period of time. The door closes on what they previously did or what they were known for. Now they're lost. They don't have that other project. I've always been a man on a mission. Always been a man with a mission. You just have to change the mission. Same passion, same drive, just for other things.
More specifically, though, if you were explaining to a stranger, here's the arduous thing that I had to do in the shadows that no one understands how arduous this part of it was to be as excellent as I was, because Drew Brees says excellence is lonely. Greatness is lonely. Like when you're running at 5 o'clock in the morning and you don't want to do it a second time, third time in a day, like you explain to the person who doesn't understand, for you to stay on top, the example you can give me of you could not do what I did here would be what?
One thing, there's many, but one thing is maintaining your belief in yourself and your ability in the biggest moments. Fighters, athletes, they put on a good front a lot of times. And I'm not saying that we aren't confident. We are. We would not get to the level that we got to if we were not confident. But every athlete at a certain point in time, when the event gets close, and even in preparation, where you have to battle doubt, you have to battle fear, you have to battle worry, you have to battle these things. How you battle those things determine who you are that night, that day, whatever sport you play. You got to win that battle over and over and over, and you have to fight that fight very, very well, or you won't be successful for any extended period of time. That's not talked about with a lot of athletes, but that's a real thing.
I think it's super interesting that you're shrugging off the physical stuff and you're just doing the mental stuff, because I'm imagining what you're saying to me is, do you understand what my pain threshold has to be as a boxer for the physical stuff? That I got conquered. That ain't the hard part.
Well, I can't even really do the physical consistently at the level it needs to be done if my mental isn't right. We shine a bright light on the physical, and that's cool to get the clips for, all access 24/7, or just whatever content channel you're on. But you do got to wake up. There's some days you wake up and you don't feel like doing that. That's when the mental comes in. There's some days, because you've done this thing, whatever sport you're in or whatever it is that you do, for so long that you can kind of do it mindlessly. You can just go through the motion. But when you train with a purpose, when you train and prepare with an urgency, that's mental fortitude. That's something in you saying, I don't feel like it, but I still got to push through. So that's why, for me, the mental part is so important.
A big Canelo fight this weekend in Vegas. Can you tell me where you put his legacy?
It's tough, man, because, Canelo's fans, they have a problem with me because I tell the truth and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. Though I balance it out with the respect that I feel Canelo deserves. So I think Canelo is a really good fighter, man. I think that he's done. You can't question the marketability. You can't question the fanfare. You can't question, the love that his fans have for him and what he's done from that standpoint. Arguably, the face of boxing, next to a Gervonta and a few others. But it is hard for me to rate the legacy, because at a certain point you start seeing the picking and choosing, right? Well, I'm not going to fight that guy. I'm going to fight this guy. Now, hear me. Some of that stuff, you got to do it. You can't fight a tough number one contender, another champion, fight in to fight out. You get to a certain point where you have that luxury. Floyd had it. Roy had it at a certain point. Canelo has it. Gervonta has it. And that's fine. Do that. If it's just a money thing and you just want to have events, man, do that. But then you start asking questions like you just asked me about legacy. You can't really quantify a legacy, and you can't be considered one of those all-time greats if you're not facing other greats consistently. So that's the problem that I have. So that's the long way of saying I don't really know how to quantify his legacy at this point. He's a really good fighter, man, and you can't take that from him. But his career is still going on. We'll see how he finishes. But he's at a point now where he's making it perfectly clear. I'm not fighting certain guys. I'm not interested in that. I'm gonna fight this guy. And I don't think that's how it's supposed to be done.
Who gets the most respect from you there on he would fight anybody?
What do you mean?
Just somebody whose legacy you do not question, because you are saying they took on all comers and didn't do the earned right of I'm going to pick and choose at the end because I'm going to protect the business.
There's a lot of guys. I mean, but the more we start talking about those guys like the James Tonys and many others that came behind him, the McClellan and Roy and certain people at certain points in times in their career, you start to get further away from this legacy. You start to get further away from this era. So the game is different. And even Floyd, Floyd gets a lot of flack for picking and choosing, and Floyd fought the tough fights. You got pretty boy Floyd Mayweather, at the first 10 years of his career, and then he got to a certain threshold and a certain point after the Oscar De La Hoya fight where he could pretty much fight whoever he wanted to fight. But even Floyd, later in his career, he still fought Marcos Maidana. That ain't twice. At his age, that ain't no easy fight. So Floyd is definitely in that category, and there's a lot of other greats that are in that category. It's tough to point out a lot of those guys now. It's not a lot of those guys that are in a top position where they have high earning power that are willing to take on those challenges. And again, you shouldn't take on those challenges fight in and fight out. You should not do that. That you get to a point, you earn the right to pick and choose. But if you want to have a legacy play and a money play, at some point in time, you got to fight some of the other best guy in that division or around your division and continue to show the fans and prove to yourself that you are still the guy you say that you are.
Where is your relationship these days with Floyd Mayweather? I offer you no disrespect when I say that he used to call you a corporate shill, and I imagine a man as proud as you probably wasn't having much of that.
Yeah. I've never had a relationship with Floyd. I've never had a relationship with Floyd. I've always seen Floyd in passing. I've flown from the Bay Area probably 3 or 4 times when he had training camps. I would come watch him for a day. Was always respect, when I see him. Oh, what's up, champ? Oh, what's up, champ? That's always the case with Floyd. But he's taken many shots at me throughout the years. That's a question you got to ask him. I have no personal issues with Floyd. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that Floyd does or says, outside the ring, but I'll always honor him. I'll always give him the respect he deserves as the virtuoso that he is inside the ring, man. I've taken a lot from him. I've stolen a lot from him stylistically, while at the same time trying to, maintain and stay who I was. But relationship-wise, it's never been there.
Hurtful to hear a great talk that way, or if there's no relationship? The only people who hurt me with their criticism are people whose opinions I respect, right? And so I don't know how any of that stuff lands. You're taking the high road. It's very kind of you, but does it hurt, or it's just sort of like, whatever, people can say what they want?
No, I mean, I think when I was younger, I think it did hurt. And I think I felt it a lot more. But, as I got older, man, I just understood. I wasn't the only one. I'm not the only one that Floyd would take shots at or say different things about. It's interesting. The why is interesting. I've never had no history with Floyd. We don't have any off-camera or offline issues. I've only respected Floyd. I don't think Floyd can find somebody that said, oh, Ward talked bad about you. So I think that's the biggest thing is just what is, and I spoke about this in my book, just, I said, man, that's something y'all gotta, the people gotta ask Floyd Mayweather. Floyd has never really embraced me as sort of one of his own. And I really don't know why, but the thing is this, like I said, when I was younger, you feel it because you look up to this person as a fighter. But when you become full grown and you become a man, you understand tendencies, you understand how their patterns are. You start to see, okay, this ain't just with me, this with other people. Okay, in this situation, he tends to move like this. So I let it be what it's gonna be. And you know me, man, I'm a praying man, and I try to make sure that all my relationships are relationships God want me to be in. And I've learned that when a door seems shut, when there doesn't seem to be any synergy, or it don't seem like it's like a natural situation, I've learned to leave those relationships alone because they're not for me for whatever reason. And you may not even know what those reasons are. So I will always honor Floyd Mayweather for what he's done in the ring and how he prepared for fights, how he respected the game. He's given my generation and many generations so much inspiration, seeing how he dealt with big moments in that ring. Some of the same media backlash that he got, I got, and a lot of other fighters got. And we pulled from Floyd to see how he dealt with certain things and how he navigated that. But there is a point where that respect stops, and I just let Floyd be Floyd.
You are not a hater, and you are also a lover of the art of boxing. How do you feel about the circus freak fights like the Paul brothers or Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? You feel how about that?
Man, it's tough. On one hand, for me, like, let me just start here. I look at Tyson and I look at his age, and there's a part of me that doesn't appreciate that part, because Mike could get hurt in that ring if they're truly going to be throwing punches and trying to hurt each other. On the other hand, and I've said this before publicly, that there's another part of me selfishly that wants to see Mike out there, that is interested in the spectacle, and I want to see how it's going to turn out. But the better part of me is saying, bro, we need to make sure Mike is good. Not because Mike ain't, tough or can't defend himself. And, if there's any man at that age that you probably don't want to worry about, is Mike Tyson. But the spectacle as a whole, a lot of people have an issue with Jake Paul, man. I don't have an issue with what he's doing, man. Him and his brother, Logan, they built up their fan base various ways throughout the year. If they are able to bring that fan base over here to boxing and sell out arenas and do some decent pay-per-views and make some money, hey, man, that's their prerogative. Like, people say they're taking away from other fighters. No, they're not. The consumer can decide what they want to spend money on and what they don't. And if fighters have a problem with it, then they just got to step their game up. You got to figure out a way to sell yourself more. You got to figure out your niche. They found their niche in other places, and they brought that niche over here. The last thing I'll say about that is I respect, what Jake is doing, because I know some of the circles that he runs in and some of the guys he's around, and they're real boxing people. He's really in there getting the shiners on his eye, getting the black eyes, trying to learn to be a good fighter. And I respect that. He seems to be a hard worker, and I respect that about him. Now, should he fight for a world title? Nah, I don't think that should be the case. I know that's what he wants to do. And given how the sanctioning bodies do business, right? It's a business for them. I'm sure they'll try to find a way to make that happen. But he's not a world-class boxer. But his hustle and what he's doing, it's hard to knock it, man. He's earned the right to do what he did because he brought a fan base over here, and they followed him, and they're paying.
The Art of Ward is on YouTube and DraftKings Network. I'm surprised, though, Andre. I feel like a fool. Everyone keeps talking about Mike Tyson might get hurt, and I keep thinking Jake Paul might get hurt. Like, if I would not want to fight you or Mike Tyson at 58 years old. Like, I understand that Jake Paul is a professional fighter, but he ain't the professional fighter that you guys were in your prime. He's just not.
He's not. And I like Mike. And I share your sentiments early, right? If Mike catches you in the right spot at the right time, Mike will hurt you at 80 years old. So yes, I've considered that, and I've thought about that. The problem is, as we all know, the age factor, and nobody escapes Father Time, and the body just doesn't work the same. And I don't know if this fight kind of drags on. I don't know if it's 8 rounds. 2-minute rounds or something like that, or are they doing 3 rounds? Do you know?
They've got all sorts of limits on it. I think the gloves are a little bit different. Are they doing headgear? Like there's some rules involved here that you wouldn't normally get with your average. And yes, no one wants to see a 60-year-old in the 7th round for sure. Like that's not right. Something. There's no headgear, Chris. There are certain things that they're doing with this fight that are different. It's going to look a little different than the average fight. Yeah,
I haven't kept up with the rules, but I'll tell you this: the Mike Tyson that I saw fight in exhibition against Roy Jones, that was still a dangerous Mike Tyson. I felt like that was two of my uncles fighting at the barbecue. I love both guys, but I was nervous for both guys. I'm like, don't hit Roy. I'm like, Roy, don't hit Mike. But Mike looked dangerous in there, and Roy even talked about it. He said, man, you guys keep talking about, I don't know if Roy or Mike said it, but one of them said, man, you guys keep talking about this, my opponent getting hurt, but what about me? I think it may have been Mike. But Mike looked dangerous, man. If that Mike can show up, man, it may get interesting early. But I get concerned about the age, man, the wear and tear, and the miles on the odometer, man.
We're looking at no headgear, 14-ounce gloves, and 8 2-minute rounds for Tyson versus Paul.
Yeah. So it's gonna go quick, but
it is good.
It can still get spicy in 8 2 minutes.
It's good seeing you. I'm sure the Art of Ward will also get spicy. As I mentioned, he is the Chief Content Officer for the Combat Sports vertical that Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson and All the Smoke are doing. Thank you, Andre. It's been a pleasure watching you, and I look forward to seeing what it is that you make here over the next 10 years.